This does not pass the smell test at all. I'm literally an idiot on YouTube who has read as much as I can about the Epstein case, and immediately I'm like, what are you talking about? Here's 10 photos of cameras in there. So it's just, the whole thing is preposterous, and I just want people to remember that.
So recently, Saagar Enjeti destroyed Ghislaine Maxwell's mountain of lies that she recently told federal investigators when they questioned her about her past and about Epstein. And the things that she lied about are incredibly telling. As soon as this transcript came out, I knew Saagar would be breaking this down, so I can't wait to see what he has to say about it. So please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
You'll all remember that we told you the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche sat for 2 days of interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell in a proffer session. The Deputy Attorney General and the DOJ has now released the full transcripts, or at least what they say are the full transcripts of their conversation, and you will be absolutely shocked to know that Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't implicate Donald Trump, doesn't implicate anybody powerful at all. Prince Andrew did nothing wrong. Bill Gates did nothing wrong. Jeffrey Epstein was a simple money manager. By the way, to the extent that anyone did anything wrong, it was Jeffrey Epstein. And it was, of course, after Ghislaine Maxwell was ever in the picture. Maxwell herself did nothing wrong. Nobody did anything wrong. And by the way, she would like her pardon immediately. She did say a few interesting things to the extent that we give credence at all. Let's keep in mind, every claim that she makes needs to be deeply scrutinized, and I will get into them. Let's go to the first part, shall we? Let's put it up here on the screen. This is the first most important section where Maxwell claims that she does not believe that Epstein, quote, died by suicide. She says, quote, I do not believe he died by suicide. And Todd Blanche goes, do you believe that? Do you have any speculation or view if you killed him? She says, no, I don't. He continues, I ask that because if you don't believe that and there's any truth for the allegation of blackmail, etc., did he have any reason for people to hate him? Why would somebody kill him in prison? And she says, and this is something I keep emphasizing, people are like, how could they get somebody to kill him? Listen to her answer. In prison where I am, they will kill you or they will pay, somebody can pay a prisoner to kill you for $25 worth of commissary. That's about the going rate for a hit with a lock today. That is an important thing to underscore because he was in, MCC. People keep asking, they're like, who killed him? It's like, it's obviously another prisoner. These guys kill each other over literally 25-cent gambling debts to maintain respect. So the idea that it would be difficult for somebody to kill him, or especially to strangle him to death, is like so, that is the most plausible scenario. It's far more plausible than that he killed himself.
Right.
So,
Yeah, indeed. And even Epstein's attorneys thought that he didn't kill himself. You had some of his top lawyers and the people that they hired to take a look at the body, like forensic pathologist Michael Baden, one of the most prominent people in the world, to say, hey, out of the 3 bones that he broke in his neck, 2 of them aren't typically broken from a hanging. They're more typically broken through strangulation. And yeah, this doesn't meet and withstand any kind of scrutiny. Ghislaine Maxwell certainly did hide a lot of the truth about her past, hid, the associations that she and Epstein had with any criminal activity, classically minimizing her own role in it, of course, and saying nothing about people of prominence and in power, hoping to get a pardon, certainly so.
Anyway, the one piece of sense that Ghislaine was saying.
But even in that, guess who she doesn't implicate?
Yeah, that's right. Of course.
The Trump administration.
And, not even just that. I mean, anybody.
Bill Barr, anyone powerful, right? And obviously it was the first.
Who has the pardon power? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe Donald Trump. Coincidence? I don't know. You'd be the judge.
First Trump administration when Jeffrey Epstein died, however that unfolded. And so she's very careful to, I don't think he killed himself, but it was just some, prison beef is probably what happened. Nobody powerful was involved. Don't worry. You can trust me.
This whole thing is like a joke. Let's go to the next part here. This is her angling for her pardon, shall we? Quote, I never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody in all the times I was with him. He was a gentleman in all respects. And she even says that, by the way, I just want to say that I find it so impressive that he was able to get himself elected president of the United States. Of course, I'm sure those are just, very normal feelings, right?
You can't make this up. She's angling for the pardon. So clearly true, so clearly so. And you can't make it any more obvious than just complimenting the administration for whom these DOJ officials are working for. And it's so clear. And she goes beyond that. She compliments other people in power, including Clinton. She said he did nothing wrong. He didn't go to Epstein's Island, which we know he did, something like 27 times. And I think she even made the remark that she never saw Clinton receive a massage. But I'm telling you, the pictures of him receiving a massage from one of Epstein's girls, maybe underage, this is all over the internet. It was all over the internet back when he died. This has been disseminated. If you just Google Bill Clinton Epstein massage, you can see a picture of that. I think that's when they're in an airport and not actually on Epstein's Island. But those pictures exist, and she had to have seen this or known that this kind of thing was happening. Certainly so.
Okay. Now, let me just again lay out how much of her testimony or whatever, her in her proffer session is just a provable lie. And this is the easiest one for me to point out. Let's put it up here on the screen. She told Todd Blanche directly that she built all of Epstein's houses, and the idea that there are cameras in them is preposterous. So here is the exact transcript. From what you know, you do not believe a camera exists or a video camera exists or a camera that takes pictures inside any of his residences. Ghislaine Maxwell, correct. Here is a picture from Jeffrey Epstein's bedroom with a mounted surveillance camera above his bed. There are many other photos of surveillance cameras all over the 77th Street mansion. There are FBI acknowledgments that during the raids of his houses that they found cameras apparently everywhere. Like, this is the part where Todd Blanche doesn't even push back in any way. He's like, oh, so you're telling me there's no cameras? Okay. And she goes on this whole long spiel. She's like, I built those houses from ground to, from floor to ceiling. I know every inch of them and the wiring. There's no cameras anywhere. And he's
Yeah, you can criticize, the lack of pushback here. I think that's the most important part he's bringing up. You can even say, like, I'm surprised they'd even ask about the cameras, ask about associations with Israel, ask about associations with people of prominence. But when you don't push back, that's the limited hangout. She can say whatever she wants to say, and no matter how false it is, if the interviewing attorney isn't going to push back whatsoever, there's nothing to be gleaned by this, especially when you can back someone in the corner this easily, like Saagar's saying, knowing that so many cameras existed. And by the way, you can see this too. Take a look if you just Google Epstein's New York mansion. There's lots of pictures of this. That's how he found it out. And not only that, in a safe that was found in his house, it had tons of tapes that said young X plus Y, presumably young underage women in sexual relations with people of prominence. This was the blackmail material. A lot of people think that, presumably Pam Bondi just said was child porn. But those were the labeled discs that you could see from photos that were taken from the serving of the search warrants. So this stuff exists. This isn't a conspiracy theory, and he's right. There's no pushback.
He's not sitting there being like, well, what about this photo of a camera? Like, it's like, what? I'm just an idiot. I'm literally an idiot on YouTube who has read as much as I can about the Epstein case, and immediately I'm like, what are you talking about? Here's 10 photos of cameras in there. So did those cameras show up after you built the houses?
Right.
If they did, who put them in there? What was the name of the house manager? Who were the employees who would have known how to do something like that? What was the subcontracting firm, because you claim to run all of his finances and know every inch of the desk?
Yeah, he just named like 5 to 6 avenues that you could pursue through pushback here. But the problem is they don't want pushback. They don't want to try pushback to push her into a corner where people of prominence might be implicated in his crimes and in his criminal behavior.
So many of the things that she said were total lies. Even worse, the way she tries to minimize everything that happened, it's sickening. Like, I read all 400 pages of this lady's testimony. At every end, she's like, oh, that was Jeffrey. It was after I departed. Or I never saw anything wrong. Like, everything. Oh, Prince Andrew, I met him through Diana's friend, and I don't wish to speak ill of her, but Andrew, he's so British. He would never do anything like that.
Oh,
and it's like, for Andrew, for Bill Gates, for Leon Black, for Les Wexner, it's like the most bullshit explanation that does not even pass a remote smell test. Blanche lets her get away with it. And the worst part is this will probably is already being used by the Epstein defenders. Is, look, see, she drove a knife in the heart of all of the Epstein conspiracy. Why would we listen to this lady? This lady was charged with perjury in 2020 for lying in a deposition. Now,
not just perjury, essentially recruiting these underage girls as masseuses, as the lead-in, as kind of the catalyst for Epstein's perverted enterprise of molesting them after the massage, or as a result of the massage leading up to his sexual exploits, this criminal behavior that likely implicated other people involving Epstein that we haven't gotten to the bottom of, even though there's plenty of victims and the attorneys for the victims want more information in this regard from not only the government, but also people involved in these crimes. And hey, interview Les Wexner. You've never interviewed Les Wexner about this case. He's still in Ohio. He's still old. And he gave Epstein much of his wealth and power, including the $77 million mansion in Manhattan, the biggest private residence in Manhattan.
To be fair, the prosecution ended up dropping the perjury for her sentencing because she'd already been convicted of the broader charge was going to send her for prison for 20 years. Like, open and shut, decent enough proof that she has lied under oath for a deposit. Of course, to her, she never did anything. She didn't even look at an underage person while she was ever worked for. I'm serious. That's the way that she talks in all of her testimony.
Remember, Trump even acknowledged that Virginia Giuffre was like stolen from him by Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, all right.
When she was what, 16?
Yeah, I believe so. Let's go to the next one. This is another one. He asks, do you have any reason to think that Epstein was part of Mossad or the CIA or any intelligence agency? She says, quote, I think it's bullshit, because if it were true, then Epstein would have bragged about it to her or tried to play it off and tried to be cool about it. And so because he was never cool about it and didn't brag about it to her, that she thinks that it's all wrong. Now, let's keep that in context, this part specifically, for the next, which remains the central question of the entire.
All right, before that, I just have to complain again about the lack of pushback on Blanche. He knows, and he has the ability to know information regarding Epstein's past, including his associations with Ari Ben-Menashe, Douglas Leese, Adnan Khashoggi, and Ehud Barak, all of which are known about. This is widely documented. It can be learned from a very simple, cursory examination of the facts in this case. But he's not pushing back and asking, what was his relations with those people, some of which he was in relations with after they had met. She claims they met in 1991. It seems like there's some evidence that suggests it could have been earlier than that a little bit, by the way. But this is just another drop of the ball if you're being charitable toward Blanche, and if you're not being charitable, part of the cover-up.
Epstein mythology, which is, how did this guy make all of his money? Here is Maxwell's explanation on the type of services that he provided for Les Wexner and Leon Black. Quote, let's say you had $1 billion to invest. So you would, in people's normal investment portfolios, you would have, some T-bonds and this and that. But Epstein's strategies would be much more sophisticated. So again, we are to believe that the college dropout, non-accredited investor, Jeffrey Epstein, had, quote, sophisticated strategies that were only accessible to him and not to the richest and most powerful people in the world. There are richest, most powerful people in the world who use investment advisors of all kinds. Goldman Sachs, and they don't need to deal with Epstein. Why do they need to deal with the J. Epstein company?
And for Leon Black to need Epstein to do his investments, he had created and built Apollo Global. And that's one of the biggest asset management firms in the entire world. When his associations with Epstein broke, it kind of created controversy and he stepped down from that. But he created and headed this global asset management group, one of the biggest in the world of its kind, specializing in alternative investments. But he needed Epstein's expertise, who didn't have expertise in investing. He did have expertise in money laundering and money movement, certainly so, from Bear Stearns onward. And we know that that's true based on his relations with Douglas Leese and Adnan Khashoggi too, but it just doesn't meet scrutiny or withstand any kind of scrutiny at all.
All right, Goldman and all those other people can get you into venture capital as an LP or any of that, and they can return on your portfolio for between 15 and 20% per year, or you could just invest it in the S&P 500 and still get a decent enough deal. This does not pass the smell test at all. Leon Black, one of the most legendary investment advisors of all time, had to use Epstein and didn't have to use his own money. That's why I paid him $170 million.
That's right, and that's exactly true. And what Leon Black has said about this is he only gave Epstein $158 million to do his taxes. So you have some contradiction not only from Ghislaine Maxwell on this, but the scrutiny that you should put toward this is palpable. Like, why would he need Epstein's expertise? He was a legend in the whole world of investing. Apollo Global Management. It's just so absurd, and those two stories contradict. It has to be something that either one of them's hiding, and hey, it could be a combination of what both of them are hiding.
Again, Todd Blanche, no explanation. He doesn't challenge her. He's like, well, exactly what were the sophisticated strategies? She goes, he was just a whiz at math. What? No. No. This stuff is ridiculous. Well, if that were true, all of the people at the Harvard math department who he was constantly cultivating, or MIT or any of them, they would all be billionaires and be filthy rich. If that's not the case, is it? So it's just, that is the part where the explanation on everything is anodyne. Everything is just, he made his money by being smart. Nobody was abused except by him. I've learned about that after his death, of course. I didn't know about any of it at the time.
Right.
Everything we ever did was above board. Every connection that he ever had to, quote, intelligence or whatever is, quote, bullshit because he would have bragged to me about it.
Yeah, let's just be real. The only way she'll divulge even close to the truth, and it might never be the full truth, probably could never be the case, even if you were charitable toward Maxwell, is if she got complete immunity, a total pardon, and maybe even money in return for suffering, right? It's just so absurd. She's not going to tell the truth. She's only angling for a pardon and to minimize her whole role in this whole thing and not divulge the true connections that we know that Epstein had, or the truth about how he acquired his wealth and his relationships with rich and powerful people.
And I just can't, with the entire thing. It really, Todd Blanche just did a horrible job. Like, he really just did.
No, he did. He did a great job for what his purposes were.
Sure, but I mean, for transparent purposes, what he effectively did is it would be like a softball interview is the example of, it's like when Republicans are in trouble, or Democrats are, Republicans are in trouble and go on Fox, and Democrats are in trouble and go on MSNBC. What can they be assured of? That when they're in their interview, that they will be asked in the most anodyne way without any follow-up about what's happening, so that they can, quote, get on the record and get ahead of it, but they don't actually have to answer any of the specific questions. And that's effectively what has happened here. So it's just, the whole thing is preposterous. And I just want people to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something to be said about the fact that no pushback is given. And you can say, if you're being, candid or charitable to Blanche, you could say, hey, he didn't know enough about this story, about Epstein's past, about these circumstances to push back, to have evidence. But, given his role, he should. If you're going to be the one questioning Ghislaine Maxwell, you should have that knowledge at your disposal. You should be an expert in this case. You should know at least as much about the case as people like Whitney Webb, who've written a book on it. And she's not even a professional in the government that was part of the official investigation. But no, because this investigation has always been a total farce. We know a lot of the information that hasn't changed and hasn't been divulged. We know about Epstein's wire transfers, information in Ghislaine's trial that was withheld. We even know that Epstein served as a federal informant twice. Once after the Towers financial collapse that he played a role in. Guy that went down for that, Stephen Hoffenberg, said to his dying day, and he served 18 years in jail for this, that Epstein was actually the architect of that Ponzi scheme that went down, and Epstein actually cooperated with the feds and gave them information on it. And then a second time, documents show that after his sweetheart deal, I think in 2007 or 2008, the Florida case where he got that absurd, unheard of sweetheart deal, work release program, carved out wing of the sheriff's department, all that, is that he was supposed to give the feds information about his criminal activities as part of that sweetheart deal. These things are known about, and these things didn't come up at all. I'm surprised Blanche even asked about the associations with Israel, but once Ghislaine said that no, he wouldn't have said that. He would have been, tried to be cool about it and reveal like his associations as an intelligence asset that way by bragging about it, being cool about it, and that he didn't do it. That's the reason. Well, Blanche had 10 other choices and avenues to go down from that. Well, what about his association with Ari Ben-Menashe? Do you know who that is? What was their relationship? Did you ever know him? Did you ever know about why he was hanging out with Ehud Barak so much? She brought up Barak in this interview, I believe, briefly, but that was another opportunity for Blanche to dive into that he didn't. So this is what we have. She's angling clearly for a pardon. If she gets one, I think it will be in the very last days of Trump's term. A lot of people think it's going to happen before that. That's really the only way Trump could pour more gasoline on this fire. So I don't think it's going to happen soon. I don't even think Trump's that stupid and demented, even though he is complicit with this cover-up, and the entire administration is too. And he's not unique in that. Remember, Biden was totally complicit in it too, although the Biden administration didn't exactly make promises that they were going to get to the truth of this and have subordinates like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi say the same thing. So that's where we're at. Let me know down below. Do you think that there is more to this story that we haven't heard? Is Ghislaine Maxwell just completely angling for a pardon? Is there any truth in any of the things she said based upon what you've seen on it? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Breaking Points as well. Appreciate Saagar for his breakdown here. And please consider becoming a YouTube member. If you click the join button below, you can help support the channel. And in return, I'll give you access to all of my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.